Recording.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, people on YouTube. And welcome back to William in Japan. Today, you join me at the outskirts of Tokyo Haneda Airport. And right in front of us is a piece of history. A legendary motorcycle reaching the end of its line. Yes, it is the CB400 Super Four. Well, why are we riding it today, you may ask? Well, as I mentioned in my previous video, I am looking to replace my CB250R with something that's better suited for two-up riding. So that is the very reason why I rented this bike for a full day and already had my wife sit at the back and enjoy the days of riding. So before we switch the engine on, let me go over the specs real quick. So this is a 399cc water-cooled DOHC with VTEC inline 4 engine. And it makes 56 horsepower. Oh, that is in PS. If you want brake horsepower, that's around 54. It also makes 39 Newton meters of torque, so pretty average for a 400cc bike. But since it is an inline 4, I will say it is actually on the good side, and maybe thanks to the VTEC. So you may ask, what is VTEC? Well, before 6,230 RPMs, this bike actually only uses one inlet valve and one exhaust valve. And only after passing that RPM, it actually turns into a proper DOHC bike. Other else? Well, a very old dual cradle frame, since this bike is actually debuted in 1992. It is as old as I am. Right way up forks, nothing special there. But what is special about this fork is actually its rake angle. It's around 25.4 degrees. It's way more rake than other modern naked bikes are. Twin shocks with a reservoir at the back. Nice long banana seat. Upswept tail, round headlight, and of course, best of all, twin analog speed mirrors. You know, bikes like these just aren't being made anymore. Modern bikes, they all have LCDs, and yes, if you have TFT, it is cool, but in my opinion, having a nice needle, an analog tachometer, and a speedo is still something that is nostalgic. I'm not sure if that's even correct since I'm not that old, but something nice to have. And this bike, as I mentioned, was debuted in 1992, but unfortunately, it is reaching its end. It will cease production this very year. So this bike itself is actually a 2022 model, but frankly speaking, it's not much of a difference from the older models. The last update this bike actually had was in 2018. It got ABS as standard, LED lights, and that's about it. So yeah, let's take her out for a spin and see how well this VTEC sound when we push it over that 6,250 RPM. You see this all aligned? That's where VTEC actually kicks in. Well, although on the speed, the tachometer, it says 6,250. Between your speed and gearing, I feel there's a big difference. Alright, let's slow down since nobody's behind us and let you guys hear the VTEC kick in. Okay, steady throttle. Nothing gonna change. I'm gonna open my lid as well. Here we go. Not sure if that's picked up on the video, so let's try it again. Okay, no VTEC, and then yeah, the whole bike kicks to life after it hits VTEC. It just sounds glorious. God, she is loud though. But these small capacity 400cc bikes, that's all the fun. You get to rev them out really strongly, all the way up to the red line. And for bigger bikes, bigger capacities, that's not something you can do anymore. Okay, let's go through here first. So, speaking of the CB400 SF, it is a very Japanese model. If I am correct, this bike isn't being sold anywhere else around the world. Usually you have the CB500F, I believe, with the parallel twin engine from the CBR500R and the CB500X, CB500X, sorry. And in Japan, they kept this bike since 1992, as I mentioned before. This engine, this four-banger, actually came from the CBR400RR back in the day. And they had a naked version of that bike, which is called the, I think it's CB1 if I'm correct. And CB1 is actually basically a complete, let's wait a bit here. Complete identical frame and a complete identical engine with the CBR400RR. And Honda actually decided, now we're going to make a more naked bike, so a standard bike that fits what Japanese standard bike should look. So they actually brought back the twin shocks at the back and tuned the engine, and that's how the CB400 Super Four was born. And throughout its years, VTEC was introduced, and it has basically stayed since ever since they got the VTEC. Yes, they tweak it here and there, but mainly the suspension, the frame, the engine has been the same ever since. So, as I mentioned, I did bring my wife on the back for full days of riding already. So, what's her opinion of the Pillion seat? Well, I'm glad to tell you, it feels way more comfier than the CB250R seat, of course. It's longer, well more padded, and she had more room to move around, so her back and her foot won't get so stiff and cramped together. Myself, however, I actually don't like the ergonomics of this bike as much. Oh god, the sound is just glorious. Okay, I digress. Why is that though? Because this seat, the seat height, is actually only 755 millimeters. That's very short for a naked bike. However, since they have to keep ground clearance, it is somewhat of a sports bike still. Oh, that's dangerous. They had to keep the foot pegs up, and with this combination of a low seat and relatively similar height pegs, my feet are super cramped, and I kind of have back aches around 2 or 3 hours of riding. I need to get a break every, I'll say, 1.5 hours to keep myself comfortable. Other than legs though, the upper part of my body, especially these handlebars, these handlebars are not like those what you have on the Street Fighters lately. This handlebar is very narrow, swept towards me, so my grab to it is very neutral. My back is straight, and I am very comfortable at where I am sitting right now. And these Japanese standard bikes just aren't being manufactured anymore, and the comfort they provide in street riding and cruising as well is not anything like those Street Fighters they have, let's say CB650R, my CB250R as well. It's just completely different. So if I'm going to get this bike, the only thing I need to change at once is definitely the seat height. I would prefer at least around 795 millimeters to 800 millimeters. 755 is just a bit too low for me. Oh, when that VTEC kicks in, it is just so glorious. You can ring the heck out of this bike and you're still not doing crazy speeds. Let's bring down two gears. And when we head into the tunnel before us, let's see how it sounds with my lid open. Just in a sec. Okay, here comes the tunnel. I'm gonna shut up and let this bike sing. Okay, 5,000 RPM. Really nice. Alright. Nobody behind us, right? Let's brake a bit. Oh, a bicycler. I don't want to scare him, so let's do it here. Neutral. Yeah, you just can't get these kind of sounds with parallel twins or big V4 or inline 4 engines. It is fun because it is a small capacity bike. And yeah, these kind of capacity really is meant to be enjoyed on the road. And speaking enjoying the road, a dual cradle frame like a Harley, let me put that for you. A 30-year-old dual cradle frame, twin shocks, right side up forks, and making those turns, I feel so sturdy and confident. We always laugh at Suzuki when they never upgrade their bikes. But the point is, when you get it right the first time, what's the point of updating them? It's very similar to this bike. Yeah, it's a bit of a chonker. Yes, it's 201 kilograms wet and ready to ride. But it has the power over the other 400cc motorcycles. And the suspension works fine. It's old, yeah. It doesn't have any flair to it. You have two twin disc brakes, not radial mounted though, but it works. Turning feels right. Braking feels right. These bumps, they take care of them perfectly. So in the end, do you really need upside down forks? And do you really need twin disc radial brakes? And do you need all-in shocks? I don't think so. We're not on the circuit, are we? We're on the road. And if you can enjoy the road like this is all you need. And I think Honda hit it really well. It's plush, it's sturdy, and it provides confidence to riders. This bike in Japan is a must-ride for everyone. Why I say that? Because there is a version without VTEC and plus a lot of lights that's meant for a riding school. So every single riding school in Japan actually uses this bike to coach and let people learn before they get their licenses. So every single rider in Japan who got their license here must have rode the CB400 Super Four sometime or another. And since they already are so familiar with this bike already, they tend to buy this bike after they graduate and got their license as their first bike. And 56 horsepower is nothing that will get away from you. And for the street and highway, and for two-up riding too, that is plentiful. And that's all you need for a novice rider and for commuting. So in the end, this bike, the CB name, the City Bike 400 SF, is really what best suited for the Japanese traffic, I think. So, that's about the good stuff. So anything on the minus side, and actually I do have quite a few, if I may say. As I mentioned, she is a bit of a chunker of around 201 kilograms. That might not sound a lot, but unfortunately, since this is a 30-year-old frame, and the setup, and how they put the center of mass on this bike, it is a really top heavy bike as well. So when I'm turning, it doesn't feel as bad. And when I'm on the go, of course, it doesn't feel really hard to ride at all. But when you're pushing it around, it definitely does feel a bit more heavier than 200 kilograms, especially when you compare it to those modern naked bikes. And another one is actually the volume of the sound. This might be weird for you guys. Like, everybody wants that glorious howling, screaming 4-cylinder. But I kind of get wary of that. If I'm riding on a highway for long terms of time like what I did today, the volume of this bike is just way too I don't say it's too loud, but it becomes annoying because it's kind of a buzzing sound. So if I am to get this bike, I might need to switch out the exhaust pipe so it won't sound as buzzing, if you understand what I mean. And I won't feel so wary after a long time on the highway. And another thing that I really don't like about this bike is actually because of VTEC. So when we're not in VTEC, this bike feels really smooth. Not much of a vibration. Oh god, that turn was beautiful. Alright, I digress. So when we are, this bike is really smooth. Acceleration is great. It is not jerky at all. And yeah, it is just a very smooth inline 4. But when VTEC kicks in, somehow a buzz comes through the seat, not the bars. The bars are completely fine. My hands won't get numb at all, but it comes through the seat actually. And my butt feels numb when I'm riding for a more continuous time. That's something really weird to say, actually. Usually it is the handles that were the problem. But this time, it's actually the seat. When VTEC kicks in, yeah, there it is. Also the foot pegs as well. Yeah, that sound though. Yeah, there is a very inline 4-esque frequency of trembling that comes through the foot pegs, my thighs right now since I'm hugging the bike, and my seat. And for a long term time, it does feel annoying. But at least for the handlebars, everything is fine. God. That's why we love inline 4, guys. Like, I'm at 10,000 RPM. At 80 kilometers only. I can even drop it first gear. God, she screams. This is what you get for small capacity inline 4s. Man, they just don't make these anymore. After this year, in 2023, next year, the only inline 4 small capacity bike will be the Kawasaki ZX25R. And it is a fully fared, extremely expensive bike, if I may add. Yeah, you just don't get these kind of bikes anymore, guys. So, since I mentioned the price for the ZX25R, let's go over the price for this bike. But unfortunately, you can't buy them anymore since they're already sold out. But anyways, just for your reference, this bike is sold around 0.98 million Japanese yen. So that's about very close to $100,000, I think. Wait a minute, $10,000. That's very close to $10,000, guys. So it is not extremely expensive, But for a 400cc bike, it is definitely on the expensive side. But in the end, that price, what you can get outside of another 400cc, maybe a Ducati Scrambler 62, I think. I forgot about the real naming of that bike, but the one with 400cc Scrambler. And the Ninja, the Z400, the R3, MT3 are all cheaper than this bike. So yeah, you get a 4-cylinder, more power, very, very comfortable. I have to say that multiple times. Man, this bike is comfortable. A very, very comfortable bike at that price. I think it's a bargain. But unfortunately, it is coming to the end. And we can enjoy while we can. And thank you for Honda for keep producing this bike for that long. 30 long years, guys. This bike is just a present, a jewel of the Honda lineup. And by the end of October, we will have to say goodbye to it. Unfortunate, but I guess emissions and stuff will mean end to a lot of fun bikes. Alright, guys. This has been William, and thank you for joining me and the CB400 Super Four this time. See you later. Bye-bye.